My name's John Lau. Sort of. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, the world's least interesting supervillain. I know supervillain might seem like a little bit of a lofty title to give oneself without proper credentials, but such is the benefit of going the villain route and not having to worry about things like red tape. So without further ado, let's discuss my plan, which is to say my point of origin, my learning opportunities, my aliases, and next, as in what's next for me. I know the acronym might seem a little bit sloppy, but acronyms are minion work, and I don't have any good ones right now. So let's start with the point of origin. Much like my fellow classmate Sydney Tushman, I am an Oklahoma transplant. I was born and raised in Canton, Georgia, which is about 40 miles north of Atlanta. I am the youngest of three. My older brother is 15 years older than me, and my older sister is 8 years older than me. This gave me the unique experience of simultaneously being the youngest sibling and the only child at different points in my life. I also successfully managed to move from the South to the Midwest without really developing any kind of Southern accent, something my husband thinks is completely unfair. So that isn't to say that I didn't manage to get any speech quirks. Like fellow classmate Dylan Moore, I have developed a very distinct customer service voice, which I utilize a lot in my job. My coworkers can give me some grief for it sometimes, but it can be very convenient to sound like no matter what the customer's ridiculous request is, there's nothing you'd rather be doing than assisting them at that moment. Even when they call you Jake from State Farm, every single time. Which brings me to aliases. My given name at birth was John Carl Hughes. I go by Jake. The reason for this is because when I was little, I wouldn't answer anyone who didn't call me John Carl, and my parents shortened it to JK or Jake. Fast forward 18 years, I have gone by John Carl as a double first name with no middle name, like I was told when I was young, for the entirety of my life. And I need to get a job now, so I have to get a new Social Security card. I go through the process of getting my Social Security card. She hands it to me and it reads John, first name, Carl, middle name, Hughes, last name. I'm used to this at this point, so I try and have the conversation with her and discuss what's wrong with it. She politely tells me that there's nothing wrong in their paperwork, and if there is an issue with it, you might want to talk to the people who signed your birth certificate. So, like any good budding supervillain, I do the responsible thing and call my mother. Draco Malfoy taught me well. I talk to her and she sighs exasperatedly and proceeds to explain to me that was the way it was supposed to be on the birth certificate, but that's not what it actually got put as. So I give a really exasperated sigh of my own and try and politely explain to my mother that that's not legally how that kind of thing works. So for the first 18 years of my life, on every paper I ever signed, I put the wrong name. So there's a lesson for you right there. Aliases aren't that hard. I literally did it by accident. And that brings us to finally what is next in my life. I've changed a lot over the last few years, from marrying my amazing husband to, much like Catherine Carpenter, owning 4 dogs of our very own who are very much like our children, up to and including the fact that we raise them as such. My brother has 5 kids actually, and having met them, I can attest that they are better behaved than most human children. I am looking at getting a bachelor's in human resource management and an associate's in Spanish, which will serve the dual purpose of being able to assist and enlist fellow coworkers and minions alike, as well as to break down some language barriers. So that's really it about me, and like any good supervillain, you have now had to listen to my entire monologue as the captive audience. We talked about my point of origin, my learning opportunity, my aliases, and next. Thank you.